All right, so I want to get to this thing. Kang said to me in the studio, he said, it's fairly obvious. And I'm like, it's fairly obvious? Is it? But this is yesterday. Dan Campbell, speaking with the media, was asked the value of, as you're paring down the roster, what is the value of keeping 3 quarterbacks? Do you balance that against other positions? And here's what the head coach had to say. Kang heard that and then made the following comment.
I think it's fairly obvious Hendon Hooker is going to get cut.
And I'm like, I wouldn't be shocked, but I don't know that I would describe it as fairly obvious. But you think that soundbite is what put you over the top, or you thought that beforehand?
I kind of thought that beforehand, but that put me over the top, like you said. And maybe I'm reading into it more than you or other people. But once I already thought, no one here thinks Hendon Hooker won the backup job. Okay, with that already being said, then Dan Campbell comes out and says that yesterday about keeping 3 quarterbacks. To me, there's no value in keeping the third quarterback. And I don't care if he was a third-round pick. His name is Hendon Hooker. Just the way that quarterback has played doesn't deserve a roster spot because he just mentioned it. I'd rather have Eric Hallett. I'd rather have
it was interesting.
Zeke Turner. I'd rather have Keith Cooper. Whoever. Yeah. I'd rather have any of those guys than a third quarterback who should never ever see the field just because he's the third quarterback.
So, Gator, do you agree with that it's fairly obvious that Hendon Hooker is going to get cut?
I think that the game tomorrow is vitally important for his future with his team, and I don't think it's out of the question at all. In fact, I don't know if it's obvious that he's going to get cut. When I heard that soundbite from Dan Campbell last night, that was my first thought, was that they've got 2 quarterbacks they're going to keep, and Dan Campbell's already kind of laying the foundation for we've got other position groups that we feel we can add depth to, quality depth to, that are going to be more important than quarterback at this point. And so I kind of agree with, I don't want to go full on and say it's obvious. I would say that my 51 would tell me that he's not going to make the roster. I'll say that, but I don't think it's obvious.
Okay,
I think my 51 says he's not going to make the roster.
Ken, can we replay it again one more time? I want to hear it one more time. Dan Campbell, the value of keeping 3 quarterbacks, balancing that against other positions. I feel like those positions he mentioned, none of them were on accident.
Right. Well, I mean, it's every position group basically he mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about
except for running back,
defensive line, are we talking about, Keith Cooper
or Uku or whatever?
Right. Agude. Offensive line. I'm not down with the offensive line. That might not be, but wide receiver. There's obvious guys there, and Jackson Meeks, Dominic Levitt, who they've had a draft pick into, and it seems like the guys who do the final 53 think he's got a shot to make it. Defensive back, Ian Kennelly, the safety out of Grand Valley.
Well, I say you can never have enough defensive backs.
Linebacker is Zach Cunningham, who I really feel like is going to make it, but I feel like those positions were chosen for a reason.
Well, I go back to last year's roster at the end of August when they announced who made the roster. Only 2 quarterbacks. They had their unquestioned backup quarterback. It's Kyle Allen. So following the path they went last year, it would make sense that Hendon Hooker is off the list, that he would not make the roster, and that they would hope to put him back on the practice squad. I think they would love to keep him on the practice squad because of his familiarity with the offense, just to do that, unless a better option comes along. But I do think it's a 2 quarterback. I don't think it's obvious like Kang does, but again, I do think that's the move they'd make is we're keeping 2 quarterbacks in the active roster.
I guess they're in a very weird position where I wonder if deep down they wish they had a Jake Fromm to play for 4 quarters tomorrow. Because if they want Hendon Hooker on the practice squad, okay, and he goes out and has a Jackson Dart or Shadur Sanders kind of game and plays really well, because there's a chance that he's going to be playing against a bunch of Texans that are going to get cut.
Right.
And so he could go out and he could shine tomorrow and have one of those big preseason games that gets everybody buzzing about a player. And we know what it is. I mean, it's preseason football. But what if he goes out and has a big game tomorrow? Can he make himself more attractive to another team? And I mean, he should. He should do his best. He should try and do his best. But if they had a Jake Fromm that they could play for 4 quarters, would they even?
No, I don't think that you play that way if you're the Lions. And I don't think. And first of all, it's not in the cards. My understanding, you're bringing it up as a hypothetical.
Yeah, I know.
It's No, I think this is a case where if he goes out there and balls it out tomorrow, well, that's a weird way to put it.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why you did that.
I'm not sure
You've
either.
had some interesting choices today in the first hour.
If he goes out and has himself a heck of a game, he's not going to change the pecking order with the Lions, and I don't know if he's going to solidify a spot for the roster. But
So what's he going to do?
So he would
what's
get
the upside?
Well, the upside is that it's the league, it's a fraternity anyway, and guys will root on guys. If hey, you don't have the roster spot for you here, congratulations! I heard you just got picked up by the Vikings or whatever it is. I don't think they have a problem with that, and they can't have a problem with that.
Cool,
they make their
unless
decision.
they want to keep him.
I'm sure they would
squad.
love to, but but on the practice squad. But if he gets picked up, it's not going to practice squad. He's going to another team for their active roster.
Yes, he is. Yeah, I mean, it'd be great for Hendon
you
Hooker.
end up being happy for the guy that happens for him, and that's the risk you run in trying to put a guy on practice squad, and so be it. It's the third quarterback. It's not. You shouldn't lose sleep over it.
BP65 on Twitch just says, "Don't worry, Doug. He will not have a great game. He might not. I mean, he
practiced well.
He did. I mean, I saw him.
And he practiced well last week, too.
I saw him make some good throws against the Texans yesterday. And, that matters. You can be, they
making
care.
plays with his feet as well. And, he's got a skill set. It's just processing the game in the game has not gone as quickly for him. Otherwise, he'd be unquestionably the number 2 quarterback on his team, and he is clearly not.
No, and I mean, there were, I guess, the mistakes that I saw him make last week, including a pre-snap, not letting his receiver get set, and so his receiver gets flagged for illegal motion. Well, to me, it was the quarterback snapped the ball too soon. You wait till that receiver gets set and is for a beat, a pause, a second before you snap the ball, and Jackson Meeks was still getting lined up. All right, so Kang said, fairly obvious to him that Hendon Hooker is going to get cut. You don't think it's, you think it's, if you
I
had
think
to
it's
bet,
probable.
you think, but you wouldn't call it fairly obvious.
I wouldn't say it's obvious. I
Yeah.
think it's probable it happens. He's not going to be on the roster.
I don't. I think you're right. I think that's a better way to put it. Well, I shouldn't say better. That's the way I agree more with you that it's probably he gets cut. I do not think it's fairly obvious he gets cut.
It's funny because you guys your argument is all for him getting cut. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you just don't want to say it. Like, hey, not that you don't want to say. Of course, you say what you want to say, but you guys are right there, dude.
I know. I didn't drive into the office.
There's no question.
I didn't drive away from practice yesterday thinking it's fairly obvious Hendon Hooker's getting
It's funny
cut.
you say that, King. That you're right there. I am seriously. I'm right there at the edge to say to walk over and take that big step and agree with you, because the more we talk this out, the more perhaps obvious it's becoming to me that he's not going to make this roster.
You know, it's funny.
And now
You
I'm
said
going,
at the beginning.
it's probable. And okay, what does probable mean? Is probable mean obvious? Well, yeah.
You went from the beginning. You said you're 51, right? And
Yeah,
we always talk
which-
about if I have to shade, I'm forced to shade one way or another. I'll shade towards him
And it's
getting
a
cut.
heavy shade. It's not. It's. I mean,
I think you're more than 51.
Oh, I'm way more than 51. That he doesn't make the roster. The question is, does it? Well, like, what percentage is obvious? It's obvious to me. It's like 90% that you're sure he's not going to make the roster.
Well,
and
fairly
I'm only at like 87.
See, here's why I would say I wouldn't put it in fairly obvious camp. If the roster, if Tuesday's cuts come and go and Hendon Hooker is on the 53-man roster, I won't go, what? He is? That's where I'd put fairly obvious.
Well, yeah, I understand that, and I'm trying to find who those players find out who those players are. That if I see them being cut and Hooker kept, that I would go, what? Really? So I think there are players in that mix. Yeah, 88 now, okay.
Come on. Like Jackson Meeks. I'd rather keep him on the roster than Hendon Hooker.
89.
All right, we'll get some of the feedback coming in. Do you agree with Kang? It's fairly obvious that Hendon Hooker gets cut. Karsch and Anderson, 97.1, The Ticket.